So let's start with cosine or cosecant of 60. So our 60 degrees will be in quadrant 1. And we know opposite of 60 is radical 3. And we know that makes this angle 30, so that's got to be 1. What is our hypotenuse? 2. And we have cosecant of 60 degrees is hypotenuse over the what? Opposite. So we know our hypotenuse is 2, and our opposite is what? Radical 3. I'm okay leaving it without rationalizing. If that bothers you and you want to rationalize, you may, and you will get this answer. Okay? But I'm good right there. Yes, ma'am.
So how did you know where to put the 1, 2, and radical 3?
Because when we had our special right lesson, it was opposite of 60 was radical 3, opposite of 30 is 1, and opposite of 90 is 2. Okay? So that, make sure you have it down, memorized. Okay, let's go to our secant of 45. So our 45 degrees also in quadrant 1. This is 45, 45, 90, so we know it's going to be 1, 1, and what? Root 2. And secant of 45 is hypotenuse over the what? So we know our hypotenuse is radical 2. Adjacent is 1. So you can leave it like that as understood 1, but that will be, to me, a better answer. But they both mean the same thing. Okay, good with that one?
Yes.
Okay, now let's go to the one with pi over 2. Now keep in mind, pi is 180. 180 divided by 2 is 90. 90 is on the very top. So it's one of the ones on the axes that I called it a quadrantal. The order pair of this one, there's no x movement because I didn't go to the left or the right. I just went up, so 1. So we have cosine of pi over 2. Cosine has ratio of what over what? Adjacent over hypotenuse. So another recap. This is x comma y. Adjacent is left to right. Is x or y left to right? The x. So we know it's going to be 0 over, on the quadrantal, so hypotenuse will always be what number? 1. So I have 0. So since pi over 2 is one of the cosine ones, let's go to our unit circle. On pi over 2, here's my pi over 2. Put in your order pair for the x and y value. And cosine was x value, so I can go ahead and say this is 0.
Do not put the y.
You can if you want, because we know it's going to be 1, right?
Yeah.
If you want to write 1, go for it, because all the quadrantals are pretty much there. Should we go ahead and put them in?
Yeah.
So on the bottom, I can go ahead and say that is 0, negative 1. To the right, we can go ahead and say this one is 1, 0. And to the left, you'll get negative 1, 0. So as you work on those quadrantal parts, be sure to go back to it and be like, okay, I have the right answer. Okay? Could we do that on our degree sign too? Might as well. On the top, 0, 1. And here I have 0, negative 1. All right, so let's move on to our next number. I think it was 10. Voila. So on number 10, we're looking at pi over 3. Pi over 3 is 60 degrees, right?
Yes.
So we know we're going to write out, oh, that doesn't look 60 degrees, but figure not drawn to scale. Opposite of 60 degree is radical 3. Then we know the hypotenuse has to be 2. So what does that make my adjacent to become? 1. So let's write out the ratio. Secant of pi over 3. And secant is hypotenuse over the what? Adjacent. And our hypotenuse in this one is 2. Adjacent from pi over 3 is 1. And so I could write out this one is 2. And this one I'm not going to transfer to the unit circle since we're only looking at sine and cosine on the unit circle. Okay? So let's look at number 16. Ooh, y'all love secant, huh? Ooh. Okay, 0 pi is basically 0 degrees. Is this also on the quadrantal? And what is the order pair on this quadrantal? 1, 0. So if I write out the ratio, we have secant of 0 pi is hypotenuse over the adjacent. And on the quadrantals, hypotenuse has to be how many? 1. Now, adjacent is the x movement. What number do I have on my x? What is 1 over 1? And voila. Y'all feeling better? Better and better.
Yeah.
Y'all are ready for pre-cal? All right, let's go to number 21. Now we're looking at cotangent of pi over 3. So we know pi over 3 is also 60 degrees. That's going to lie in quadrant 1. What number goes on the opposite of pi over 3? Root 3. And we know the hypotenuse is 2. Adjacent has to be 1. So we have cotangent of pi over 3. What is the ratio of cotangent? Adjacent over the opposite. Now we know the adjacent from pi over 3 has to be 1. What's on the opposite? Radical 3. You may leave it just like this. But if it bothers you, can you simplify that further? You may. And then we have 23. Where's 2 pi going to be in? If 1 pi is 180, 2 pi must be 360. So it's going to be basically where it starts at 0 and go all the way around in circle, lands back at 360. So what is our order pair on this quadrantal? 1, 0. So we know cosecant of 2 pi is equal to hypotenuse over the what? Opposite. And I'm going to write OP on this one since I'm kind of thinking ahead. Hypotenuse on the quadrantal is always what number again? 1. Opposite is X movement or Y movement? It is the Y movement, so I have my 0. Can we divide it by 0? It is undefined.
How did you get H over O?
H over O, that's the ratio of cosecant. You just have to memorize them. Cosecant is reciprocal of sine. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So cosecant has to be hypotenuse over the opposite. Any other questions? So as you find sine value, transfer it as an order pair on the unit circle. As you find the cosine value, same thing. Good? But remember, once you find one, can you go over in all 4 quadrants?
Yeah.
Yes, you can.